Tonight on News 5 Live, the Briceño administration presents the 2023 budget. The Prime Minister provides a comprehensive review before introducing plans for the upcoming fiscal year. Registrar of Credit Union closes in on St. Francis Xavier Credit Union. A body is discovered near the 8 Mile community. Freddy Chicas is executed. These stories and more coming up on News 5 Live.
At Brothers Habet and Habet, we are proud to support and celebrate Women's Month. This year, the theme is Embracing Equity, and we believe that everyone deserves equal opportunity and access to the tools they need to make their dreams a reality. That's why, for the entire month of March, we are offering all women a special 15% discount on all products store-wide. Whether you're a professional, a DIY enthusiast, or just looking to tackle a home improvement project, we have everything you need to get the job done. So come on down to Habet and Brothers Habet and embrace equity. Let's work together to break down barriers and empower all women to build a brighter future. From all of us at Brothers Habet and Habet, Happy Women's Month.
Staying connected with your loved ones while traveling is even more important during this global pandemic. With Digi, this is even easier and more convenient with our data roaming plans. Postpaid customers have instant access to mobile data when in 41 destinations worldwide. With 3 affordable plans, starting at only $28, it's easy to instantly connect via your favorite digital platform. To purchase your data roaming plan, contact Digi before your travel date. If you are already abroad, you can contact us via email at digihelp@livedigi.com or via WhatsApp at 608-8888. For more information, visit our website at livedigi.com/digicel or visit a Digi store near you. You can roam, stay safe, and stay connected with Digi.
Watch The Truth of God with Pastor Gino Jennings of the First Church of Our Lord Jesus Christ every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. exclusively on Channel 5 Belize. The Truth of God with Pastor Gino Jennings every Sunday at 8 a.m. on Channel 5 Belize.
Indulge the flavor. Go beyond meat. looks like meat, tastes like meat. But it's better than meat. 100% plant-based, rich in protein, 50% less saturated fat, no GMOs, no added soy, packed with benefits and sustainable. Beyond Meat, good for you, good for the environment. Now available in 6 different types of products in Belize. Beyond Burger, Beyond Sausage, Beyond Beef, Beyond Chicken Nuggets, Beyond Chicken Tenders, Beyond Steak, Beyond Meat, distributed by United Distributors Limited.
The Belmopan Red Tigers have been prancing around the BEBL jungle like the big bad tiger cat. But the only real cat in the BEBL is this Cat 5 storm that the Venice Belize Hurricanes is about to unleash. And so, like Tweety Bird would say when she sees the Red Tigers,
I thought I saw a putty cat. I did saw a putty cat.
Let's go. All around.
it's gonna be a monster jungle showdown this Friday night, March 10 at the Belize Civic Center, when the Cat 5 Team Venice Belize Hurricanes rumble against the Belmopan Red Tigers in a battle dubbed as the Cat 5 versus the Tiger Cat. But we all know who is the real super cat. This will be a battle between the old and new capitals. Venice Belize Hurricanes focus on righting the ship, and the Belmopan Red Tigers are in the way. Semi-pro basketball at the highest level. Who will be victorious and who will survive in the jungle? Bring out the entire family this Friday night at the Belize Civic Center as your city favorite and beloved Venice Belize Hurricane takes on the Belmopan Red Tigers. Gates open at 7, tip-off time is 9. This you don't want to miss. The halftime show will feature the fabulous Britney Star with her hit tune.
Hey boy, are you my one hold from my body?
Also, how about the half-court shot to win a brand new Honda cycle from Venice? Remember to sign up for the Serena Bay Villas First Time $4,000 contest. Primary schoolers and high schoolers, bring out your posters and compete for the $500 prize. Lots of phone and tablet giveaways, courtesy of Smart and Cellular World.
Hurricanes are one big family.
The after party will be at Thirsty Thursdays. Sponsors:
Yo, respect the city. Love the game. Family, Belize Hurricanes. Hurricanes are one big family.
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Friday, March 10th. I am Annalyn Apolonio. Prime Minister John Briceño introduced the 2023-2024 budget before the House of Representatives today. His speech touched on a range of topics, from the external conditions impacting Belize's economy to developments in the financial sector, the impacts of the new budget, and his administration's reform agenda. At the beginning of his 1 hour and 17-minute long budget presentation, PM Briceño gave a review of his administration's fiscal performance for 2022. With a reported primary surplus of $31 million as a result of actual revenues and grants exceeding original projections, PM Briceño says his administration's 2022 performance reveals that Belize's economy is well positioned to sustain its debt obligations.
Total revenues and grants are projected to come in at $1,356 million, of which 89% is tax revenue, 8% is non-tax revenue, and 3% is capital revenue and grants. Actual revenue and grants exceeded the original budgeted amount by approximately 6.9%, or $93 million, an overperformance of $89 million, which is attributed to tax revenues. On the expenditure side, total spending, including supplementary allocations approved during the fiscal year, is expected to be $1,436 million, which is $71 million, or 5% more than the original estimate. Recurrent expenditure will come in at $48 million more than the original estimates, while investments in capital projects will total approximately $397 million, or an additional $119 million. This year's budget will require total financing of about $178 million. At the bottom line for this fiscal year, government expects a primary surplus of 0.5% of GDP, or roughly $31 million.
One of the significant strides made by the Briceño administration in the 2022-2023 fiscal year was the reduction of public debt. Today, Prime Minister Briceño boasted a decrease of more than $1 billion in public debt since taking office, reducing the deficit from 133% of GDP to 101% of GDP in their first year, to 64% of GDP in 2022. Prime Minister Briceño described this achievement as a historic feat.
In December 2022, the total public debt stood at $4,031 million, or the equivalent of 64.1% of GDP. $2,716 million represented loans to external lenders, while $1,314 million was owed by government to domestic creditors. 67 cents of every dollar of debt is owed to foreign creditors, and 33 cents of every dollar to local creditors. To meet the terms of this debt stock during this fiscal year, government paid some $112 million in interest and $97.5 million in principal repayments. Of every dollar in total revenue and grants for this budget year, government therefore paid 8 cents in interest. The average interest rate on the public debt comes in just under 3%, though rising interest rates globally will nudge upward the cost of financing the public debt. Each year, going back 20 years, the IMF, based on what it called a debt sustainability analysis, has appraised Belize's public debt as unsustainable. In contrast, this administration, through its public debt management operations, has reduced the amount owed by the government by over $1 billion.
And now for the 2023-2024 budget. The Ministry of Finance is projecting total revenues and grants of just over $1.4 billion for the new fiscal year. On the expenditure side, the government expects to spend just under $1.5 billion, which is about $100 million more than what was projected for the last budget. According to the draft estimates, the Ministry of Finance will see the largest expenditure at $332 million, followed by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology, with projected expenditures of up to $261 million. $121 million will be invested in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, while just over $91 million will go to the Ministry of Home Affairs.
The Ministry of Finance projects total revenues and grants of $1.408 billion compared to tax revenues of $1.372 billion. Non-tax revenues of $112 million, capital revenues of $5.5 million, and grants of $30 million. The subcategories of tax revenues are as follows. 1. Taxes on goods and services that account for 49 cents of every tax dollar. 2. Taxes on income and profits accounting for 26 cents of every tax dollar. 3. Taxes on international trade and transactions accounting for 18 cents of every tax dollar. And 4. Taxes on property accounting for less than 1% of each tax dollar collected. On the expenditure side, a total of $1.496 billion is proposed. Of this sum, $1.112 billion is classified as recurrent spending. This covers wages, pensions, goods and services, subsidies and transfers, and debt service interest cost. I am pleased to confirm that effective 1st April, the wage provisions include the resumption of increments for public officers. This will be merit-based and comes at a full 12 months prior to the original date for restoration.
The budget for the new fiscal year is forecasted to yield a primary surplus of $24 million, $6 million short of this year's surplus. On the other hand, the 2023 GDP is projected to be a robust $6.3 billion. According to Prime Minister Briceño, the government expects to offset its over $100 million budgetary deficit through loans and grants from various IFIs. Apart from the expenditures already outlined, the Briceño administration has identified additional priority areas for investments in its 2023 budget. These include free education, the distribution of 11,000 parcels of land to first-time landowners, the expansion of the National Health Insurance Program in Orange Walk District, and the recruitment of additional police, Coast Guards, and BDF officers.
This new budget will focus on several priority areas in keeping with our medium-term development strategy and with the overarching goals of Plan Belize. More money is being provided for the following high priority areas. An additional $4 million to expand the free education program to schools in the south side of Belize City and the Toledo district. In addition, $1 million to fund the surveying and processing cost of lots for first-time low-income house owners. In addition, $7 million for the expansion of the National Health Insurance Program in the Orange Walk District. With this move, Madam Speaker, we are going to have over 269,000 Belizeans registered under the National Health Insurance. An additional $3 million for municipal streets and drains, an increase of $5 million to meet the recruitment of an additional 225 police cadets, 110 BDF recruits, and some 60 Coast Guard recruits. An additional $1 million to support the Financial Intelligence Unit, including the establishment of a Civil Asset Forfeiture and Recovery Unit to combat corruption.
We also heard from the Leader of the Opposition following Prime Minister Briceño's budget speech. And it may come as no surprise that Barrow was not impressed with the Prime Minister's 2023 budget presentation. Barrow reduced the government's performance report to what he says is simply a natural rebound from the economic contraction caused by COVID, adding that the Briceño administration is yet to achieve the level of fiscal performances in certain areas of development achieved under the former UDP administration.
When the Prime Minister talks about these growths, you're talking about growth from COVID. That always is omitted. 2020 was the worst year ever for Belize because of COVID-19, not because of the UDP administration. So the growth is inflated. And when you talk about inflation, I am still going over the budget to see whether the budget responds satisfactory to inflation. I'm happy to hear about the public officers giving tickets, but I think there needs to be some office where people can report price gouging. So setting up funding for such an office, or finding within the public service the pertinent officers that could have an office where people report price gouging, I think is a step to go.
And as we told you, Prime Minister Briceño listed a number of high priority areas outlined in the 2023 budget for additional investments. Opposition leader Shine Barrow shared some issues he has with the additional investments being made in some of these areas, particularly where NHI and free education are concerned.
The $7 million that was put there for NHI, it is a comedy of error. You are giving people nothing because our healthcare system is in shatters. It's not me that is saying it as the Leader of the Opposition. It is what the public healthcare professionals, private healthcare professionals, unionists in the medical field have been protesting and complaining about for quite some time now. So what does NHI actually mean? It's like you're giving someone nothing, because you go to the public healthcare facility and they can't give you medicine, they can't treat your wounds because they don't have gauges. I mean, it's pathetic. So it's not impressive to start. Again, when you go to free education, I am grateful for the budget that is allotted by the Ministry of Education to the area representatives. But these schools that they talk about on the south side, which is where my constituency is, the students from these schools still come to me to get financial aid. So where is this free education? And again, education has always been free, even under the Barrow administration, but then there are these built-in costs. So even when the government says free education for all of these schools on the south side, does that really translate into free education?
The budget debate is scheduled for March 23rd and 22nd. Coming up, critical deficiencies in governance at St. Francis Credit Union. Find out the details when we come back.
Hello, friends. I'm Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, "And Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never thirst, and shall never hunger. And he that believeth on me shall never thirst." Today, people are hungering and thirsting for a fresh word from God. And yet, sometimes I fear that today's preaching is designed more to make people feel good than to satisfy their hunger and to quench their thirst. Helmut Tillich tells the story of a man walking down a street in Hamburg, Germany one day when breakfast was just a memory, and of seeing a sign in the window that said, "Fresh bread for sale." He was hungry and could almost smell the bread. He turned around and went into the store and asked for a fresh slice of fresh bread. The owner said, "Oh, we don't bake bread here, we just make signs." Sometimes I feel the church is better at making signs than baking bread. They are better at marketing their church than they are at presenting Christ, the bread of life available to the hungry. May the hungry find their way to our churches seeking bread and not leave disappointed, but leave satisfied because they have found Jesus Christ, the living bread. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
Join us for an engaging and inspiring service from Sagebrush Church that the whole family will love. Each week, you will have the opportunity to take part in amazing worship and learn how you can make your personal relationship with God a priority. Watch us on TV, stream us online, or visit us in person at one of our 8 physical locations. Go to sagebrush.church or download the Sagebrush app to find locations and times to watch.
Hey babe, I need some cash.
Okay, right now transfer some.
Short on cash? Make up the difference with V-Bucks. Transfer V-Bucks quickly and easily. Enjoy your shopping experience at V-Mart or any other Benny's entity and get rewarded today.
Mom, nothing fast, but how you do that just now?
V-Bucks?
V-Bucks, rewarding loyalty.
More Belizeans have jobs. 95% of those who seek employment are working. 95%. For the first time in the history of Belize, we have an unemployment rate of 5%, thanks to a PUP government. 42,965 workers have received a $1.70 or 51% per hour salary increase because of the recent increase in the minimum wage to $5 per hour.
An administrator has been appointed to the St. Francis Xavier Credit Union Limited. Today, the media was called to a press conference by the Central Bank of Belize, where the governor, Kareem Michael, in his capacity as the Registrar of Credit Unions, announced that under the Credit Unions Act of 2011, the appointment of an administrator to the credit union was required for the protection of the equities and interests of the member owners of the credit union. The decision comes on the heels of an examination of the credit union's operations, which Registrar Michael says revealed critical deficiencies in the governance of the credit union. These weaknesses, including unaccountability at the management level, could destabilize the credit union and harm the interests of its members.
Section 60 of the Credit Union Act. The said examination was conducted between July and August. It's actually commenced on the 11th of July last year, and a report was provided to me. On the 5th of July 2022, I also placed the credit union under a regime of enhanced supervision by appointing on-site examiners to review the day-to-day operations of the credit union. The board continues to disregard its fiduciary responsibilities under the Credit Union Act to provide strategic direction, ensure that risks are properly managed, and establish sound corporate values and conduct, thereby compromising the safety and soundness of the credit union. The board's non-committal responses to address the grave issues uncovered during on-site examinations are strong indicators that the board is not equipped or disposed to discharge its fiduciary responsibilities to members and depositors of the credit union. The culture of unaccountability at the management level continues to result in subjective decision-making and self-dealing practices, while discounting the risk and potential losses to the credit union. The committees are ineffective in their roles of managing credit and in providing unbiased, objective review of St. Francis Xavier Credit Union's risk management, governance, and internal controls processes. For these reasons, I have concluded that the appointment of an administrator is required to protect the equities and interests of the members, owners of St. Francis Xavier Credit Union.
The controversy surrounding the administration and operation of St. Francis Xavier Credit Union in Corozal played out in the media for several months. During that time, there were protests organized and even physical assaults recorded as a result of the debacle. Registrar Kareem Michael says that the board and management of the credit union were given ample opportunity to address these concerns, and because they have not been adequately addressed and all remedies have been exhausted, an administrator had to be appointed. That person is Martin Marshallek. If the name sounds familiar, that is because Marshallek, a career banker, was recently appointed as chairman of the Board of Governors of the Carl Huschner Memorial Hospital Authority. Registrar Michael outlines the roles of the administrator while stating categorically that the directors and managers of the credit union have no power at this time.
The administrator is required to take all steps and do all things necessary to protect the equities of the members and the rights of creditors of the credit union. The administrator shall ensure that normal services and operations of the credit union are maintained. He will be responsible to the registrar and carry out all orders and directions of the registrar to the credit union. To the extent I deem it necessary, I shall, as registrar, give directions to the administrator I consider to be desirable in the interest of the members and potential members of the credit union. We are guided by the provisions of the Credit Union Act, which provide that the directors, officers, and the manager of the credit union shall not exercise any of the powers conferred upon them by this act or bylaws during the time that the administrator remains in charge of the conduct of the business of the credit union. The said duties and responsibilities shall be performed by the administrator, provided that the administrator may delegate to directors, officers, or the manager specific duties as may be necessary to efficiently carry out the business of the credit union.
The administrator will conduct the business of the credit union until the registrar sees it fit for the management of the credit union affairs resumed by its officers. St. Francis Xavier Credit Union is the second largest credit union in Belize, with over 30,000 registered members. With an administrator taking over the day-to-day operation of the credit union, what happens to the member owners and their interests?
The appointment of an administrator to St. Francis Xavier Credit Union will not impact members' savings at St. Francis or any other credit union. Your funds are safe. The credit union remains in sound financial standing. All services will continue as normal, and members are encouraged to continue to pay their loans. The primary objective of this administration is to restore safe and sound operations and support the long-term success of St. Francis. I have taken this action as registrar to protect member savings and to avoid failure of the credit union.
So going forward, General Manager Rafael Dominguez Sr. has been relieved of his duties, and so is the Board of Directors. According to Registrar Kareem Michael, the administrator now has the power to redelegate functions to officers and other employees if he so chooses. During today's budget presentation, Prime Minister John Briceño said that non-performing loans for domestic banks are at 7% higher than the max of 5%. This, he said, is due to the pandemic and excessive risk-taking by the financial institutions. During the press conference with the Central Bank of Belize, Governor Kareem Michael spoke on the reality, saying that the increase was predicted.
There is an increase in non-performing loans within the banking system, and naturally one would have expected that given the sharp contraction that the country experienced in the midst of COVID, and the central bank, along with the Bankers Association and also the Credit Union League, taking steps to address what we had predicted would have been a high level of non-performing loans. While we have done quite a bit to contain that level of fallout by a well-crafted exit strategy, there still was some damage, if you will, because businesses did disappear and some businesses were not able to recover out of the pandemic. That's unfortunate, but nothing that should suggest that the central bank does not have the capacity to deal with any increase in risk which may result from this increase in non-performing loans. So it's one which we're on top of and one which we continue to monitor closely.
Earlier, you heard about the enhanced supervision that took place at the St. Francis Xavier Credit Union in Corozal ahead of an administrator being appointed. It is a last resort taken by the Registrar of Credit Unions in an effort to save the embattled financial institution. A recent report from the International Monetary Fund cites 2 banks in Belize that are also under enhanced supervision. This, we are told, is due to underperformance of loans and, quote, risky lending practices, unquote. News 5 asked Central Bank Governor Kareem Michael what this means for those banks. Of note is that the Belize Bank Limited is one of the highest credit-rated banks in the country, and late last year, the Caribbean Information and Credit Rating Services Limited reaffirmed the bank's near-excellent national rating.
The central bank's watch over the financial system doesn't wane. It doesn't go through peaks and valleys. It is one which is constant. We understand the huge responsibility placed on us, and that in a very small financial system, you only have very limited options to put your money. The central bank then must remain vigilant at all times in the financial system. Enhanced supervision is a fancier word for when the central bank has its rotation and does something different. So we have both off-site, on-site examination. Off-site is when we sit behind our desks and we look at reports. On-site is when we go in there and we dig. And we turn over files and we look under the rug and in closet. So most banks go through that sort of assessment by the central bank. So it might be a perception that when you see central bank examiners within the financial institution, that there's reason for panic. No, I would say that it is part of our regular vigilance oversight over the financial system. In a small open economy, I think risk is any and everywhere. If you certainly want to, if you lend for development in Belize, it is bound to take on a certain level of risk. And it's just the dynamics of our market. Now, the central bank is here to ensure that you don't take your risk too far. So we prescribe, let's have a good credit policy, credit risk policy in place. Let's ensure that you have the proper checks and balances, that your governance is good. So if you decide to take on this risk, that you make sure that you have accounted for all the eventual things which may come with it.
After the break, Cabinet Subcommittee established to address impasse between BSI, ASR, and BSCFA. We'll tell you about that, but first, here's the weather update with data from the Belize Met Service.
High School Energy Challenge just got better. You have more time to study, register, and win. Register online at pel.com.bz/energy challenge by Monday, March 20th. Students, high schools, start preparing. Log in anytime from Monday, March 27th to Friday, March 31st to complete the challenge. It only takes 1 hour to complete the challenge. And you could win one of 100 laptops, one of 25 $500 tuition vouchers, or one of 25 $250 stationery vouchers. The top 3 high schools also receive cash prizes of $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000. Study anything and everything. Let's Talk Energy on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Register now and get ready for BEL's High School Energy Challenge.
The last time we visited Miss Francesca Howers was to deliver the exciting news that she was chosen to receive a home sponsored by SMART for its 18th anniversary through the Hand in Hand Ministries housing program. Since then, she has actively been participating in attending Saturday sessions to improve her life skills, cleared her property for its foundation and construction of her home, and has assisted in the construction of a home for another recipient of Hand in Hand housing program. All these activities are to foster a more responsible, responsive citizen in our community.
Do you have information about a crime or a fugitive in our community? You can submit a tip anonymously with your smartphone. Using this program in safeguarding our community also protects your identity, keeping you out of the court system, and could earn you a cash reward. Here is how it works. Download the free P3 Tips app from the Apple Store or Android Market. P3 is the provider of our secure anonymous tip collecting software. Open the app and create a PIN, but be sure to remember that number, then select your location. Next, select the type of crime. When submitting a tip, be as specific as possible. If you have a picture, video, or audio that will help officers, you can upload them from your phone. Information leading to an arrest can earn you a cash reward of up to $1,000. Once your tip is submitted, you'll be given a tip ID and password. Check back if your tip leads to an arrest. You'll be told how much you were rewarded and how to anonymously collect your cash.
Environmentally degradable plastics, or EDP, are plastics that are affected by a combination of environmental conditions that cause the plastic to break down within an acceptable time frame. They are specifically designed to degrade into carbon dioxide, water, and other biomass substances. The level of breakdown can vary based on standard test methods appropriate to the plastic. Click on the link below to see what you can do to help end the nightmare of single-use plastics. I'm Alison Castillo, and now you know.
$68,000 fewer Belizeans are poor, according to the last poverty assessment. Exports are rising. Serious crimes are falling. 14,000 public officers, teachers, and security personnel received the restoration of their full wages last July. And in a few weeks from now, more specifically, starting 1st of April, we will restore increments for deserving public officers, teachers, police, BDF, and Coast Guard.
On Thursday, we told you that Cabinet has agreed to convene a commission of inquiry into the sugar industry in an effort to review the sustainability of the industry as well as its modernization. To clear up questions as the intended outcome of this exercise, Prime Minister Briceño sought to explain the purpose and functions of the commission. Apart from the commission of inquiry, Cabinet has also agreed to establish a subcommittee led by Minister Karim Musa to look at the commercial agreement aspect of the impasse between BSI, ASR, and the BSCFA.
Now, there are two different things that we're dealing with right here. One, the commercial agreement, and secondly, the modernization and viability of the sugar industry. Now, a commission of inquiry can only provide recommendations. They have no legal footing to say, okay, this is what you have to do, and this is the end of it. So we said it is high time to be able to set up the commission of inquiry that will look at the entire sugar industry, look at the fields, the planting, the production, the cutting of it, transport to BSI, to the factory, and for the factory, whilst it's being produced into sugar and it's exported, so we have to look at the whole value chain of it. That's what, and then look at for instance, the Sugar Act that has to be modernized. So the idea is that going through all of this and bringing in the experts to take a look at what they're doing and looking at the cost of our farmers as to how much it costs for them to produce a ton of cane, and including BSI, what is it that it costs them to produce a ton of sugar, to ensure that they're making the right charges to the farmers. And so working through that, then we could come up with a firm set of recommendations that then we can use as a blueprint for the future of the sugar industry. Now, as to the commercial agreement, now what we are attempting to do, the mediation did not work. We are hoping that if if the three ministers, we've asked Minister Musa to head the team. You have Minister Mai as the minister responsible for the sugar industry, and Minister Oscar Mira, to them to meet with the Cane Farmers Association and say, okay, in the commercial agreement, what are the issues you have? And why is it that you have these issues? And then they could meet with BSI separately and said, okay, what are your concerns in the commercial agreement?
On Thursday, we told you about the agreement between the government of Belize and the Joint Unions Negotiation Team for the implementation of a phased approach to the public sector pension reform. Today, Prime Minister Briceño further elaborated on why the current public sector pension scheme is unsustainable, noting that by the end of the current fiscal year, GOB would have spent $95 million in pension payouts. That figure is expected to increase to $100 million in the new fiscal year. He contends that the government cannot sustain this level of expenditure. So, what are the details of this newly agreed upon phased approach to pension reform? PM Briceño gave us some insight following his budget speech.
The first time that this came to my attention was in 2004 with then Prime Minister Musa, and I think the pension bill at that time was around a little over $30 million. And now here we are at $100 million. It has to be done. There's no ifs or buts. The irony of all of this, we are making these tough decisions that will not benefit our government, because as a government, we will not be able to get the real benefits of what we're doing until all of these people have come out of the system. With the union, since because we knew that we didn't have enough time by April 1st, we said, okay, let's take it in two phases. The first phase is to say that the unions have agreed that any new entrant starting the 1st of July will have to pay a part of a contributory pension scheme. And the idea is that 10% of their salaries is going to be set aside. They're going to pay 5%, and the government is going to match it with a 5%. So that's one. But secondly, we're saying now that we are now the phase two is now we have to sit down with the unions to say, okay, where is the cutoff date? Where, I mean, of course they would like to keep things as they are and so on a new one, but we can't. We owe it to the Belizean people to address this issue. So the idea is to be able to be able to get to a cutoff point, be it people that have served maybe 20 years, 15 years, depends on the negotiations, where we say, okay, people that have, let's say people have worked for more than 15 years in the system will stay in the non-contributory pension scheme, and then those under 15 years, then they would have to start to contribute for their pension.
Saidi Quetzal, a Belizean student who recently returned home from studying in Taiwan, is the activist who lobbied for the government to remove all taxes from female sanitary products. Quetzal's Don't Tax My Femininity campaign has been in the works since January. She was present at today's House meeting where she spoke with reporters.
I started this initiative in January. I wanted to get the facts first. I did a survey within the Belmopan community. I went to Sun Up on 7 also issuing this survey, and so we could basically say we got an overview of all of Belize, and it was amazing to see that employed women and unemployed have a struggle when buying these sanitary products. I got the information first, I prepared a fact sheet, and I did my lobbying to the Minister of Human Development, the Deputy Prime Minister, Special Envoy, National Women's Commission, and the Minister of Health. Now, this is an issue that needs to be addressed in all angles when it comes to education in regards to menstruation. Also, it's a health issue to have good health management when it comes to menstruation. The taxes that are added on sanitary products is 20% importation tax. Then after the 20%, you add 3% environmental tax, then the 12.5% GST. So a total, we have 35.5% of taxes added to sanitary products. Today, I'm proud to say that we are at 0.
Missing man Freddy Chicas executed off George Price Highway.
Taking its name from the venerable father of the nation, the George Price Highway stretches 77 miles from Belize City to Benqueviejo. Originally built in the 1930s, this cross-country highway system is the artery that links Belize to Central America at the western border with Guatemala. That connection facilitates overland trade, supporting Belize's economic development. Winding its way across the scenic countryside, the George Price Highway from Roaring Creek to Esperanza has been fully reconstructed to meet international standards, with particular emphasis on road safety. A shorter and hassle-free commute is best enjoyed when everyone obeys the traffic laws. To reduce the number and frequency of road traffic accidents, it means that a seatbelt must be worn at all times and the speed limit observed when traveling along the highway. It also means that pedestrians must use sidewalks and crosswalks where available. Buses should only board and discharge passengers at a designated bus stop. Road safety is everyone's responsibility. It begins with you.
eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
Sign up for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
In the past year, we distributed a little over 1,000 purchase approvals and titles to what we call the super constituencies. The teachers, nurses, police officers, public officers, and the Belize Defense officers. And as we speak, 10,000 lots are being surveyed all over the country so that we can reach first-time landowners as well as more public officers, the teachers and the nurses, and members of our police and security forces. And in this coming financial year, we will do even more.
He was officially reported missing on Thursday, but was last seen alive by relatives and friends on Sunday, March 5th. This morning, during a search by family and friends, the decomposing body of 21-year-old Freddie Chicas was discovered off the George Price Highway, a few hundred yards away from the roadside. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
Today, a family's worst fears were confirmed when they discovered the body of their loved one among mangroves in a marshy area just past the 8 Miles community on the George Price Highway. Freddie Chicas' body was found by his teenage brother, who was among a group of persons searching the area.
This morning, the search began, and apparently his younger brother found him. And that is when we get the news that they found him back here. It's heartbroken. It's my little brother. I did not expect to find him like this, especially him. He's someone kindful. He's someone who will help anyone with anything, and they did not. Like, it's unexpected. We didn't expect this.
Chicas had been executed, shot once to the head. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams confirms that the body of the 21-year-old was already in a state of decomposition.
Police officers were called to a feeder road off the George Price Highway just after the 8 Miles community, and there they discovered the remains of a male person. The body did exhibit what appeared to be a single gunshot to the head. We have identified the person as one of those persons who was reported missing.
The resident of the Spanish Town area of the West Lake community was reported missing on Thursday, but was last seen alive on Sunday. When he did not return home, the family suspected that something had happened to him. It is believed that he was killed on that same day.
We suspected something was wrong, and then we started doing our own investigation to see if anyone has saw him, but apparently no one has saw him since. He normally tell my mother that he won't be coming home or he's going fishing or hunting, but we didn't get any information or any text from him. Well, the search was supposed to started from yesterday, but before we saw that we didn't hear anything from him, so we started to ask around if anyone had heard from him or seen him, but they say no, they haven't heard. So we have been asking around any question or anything or any little thing that can help us, but they never saw him at all.
Who would want Chicas dead and why is unknown at this time, but police are canvassing the area for leads.
No, our circle is small. We don't have much friends. And the only friends we hang with, we don't go around hanging with anyone because anybody could be an enemy. So we don't hang with anyone. And unexpectedly, we found him back here today. All I want is there to find who is the responsible for doing him like this in that cruel of way. He doesn't do anything to anyone. I'm not saying he's perfect. No one is perfect. But he doesn't deserve this. Our family does not deserve this. We want justice for him, and we want them to be punished.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
A man reportedly suffered a bullet wound while handling a loaded gun this afternoon in San Pedro. News 5 has learned that the Lebanese Belizean was in the company of a few friends and was inspecting a gun that is licensed to one of the friends when the weapon accidentally discharged. The man suffered a gunshot wound to the abdomen and was brought to Belize City, where he is receiving medical attention. News 5 will have the full details of this incident on Monday. A daring shootout between a pair of armed thieves and police officers responding to a robbery in progress in St. Vite Village has raised serious concerns about citizen security on the Placentia Peninsula, a prime tourist destination. On Thursday night, both men showed up at a beachfront resort and were in the process of robbing the guests when law enforcement officers also arrived at the location. The sudden police presence may have foiled the robbery, but the thieves did not flee the scene without an exchange of gunfire with the cops. It's an alarming incident that couldn't have happened at a more inopportune time, at the height of the tourism season. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams shared additional details earlier today.
Yes, I know that last night police were called to a particular resort on the Placentia Peninsula in St. Bight. Upon police arrival, they observed two male persons standing in front of a beach house. Those persons were approached by the police, and immediately upon doing so, they fired a series of shots at the police. The police returned fire, and the persons ran along the beach. They were again pursued by the police, during which more shots were fired by them, and the police returning fire. Nobody was injured during the exchange of gunfire. Initial investigation later on revealed that 4 persons, 2 armed with firearms and 2 armed with edge tools, entered the beach house where some tourists were staying, and they were questioning them about the owner of the house and money. Nothing was stolen other than a cell phone, because while that was happening, that was when the police arrived, and so the police may have disrupted them from carrying out what they wanted to do. We are looking for a particular suspect at this time to see if that person will be able to give us some information or lead that could take us in making some arrests in respect of that matter.
Sir, this is a very alarming incident. Height of tourism season, we know that area is a tourist haven. It will create aftershocks and fear. What are you all able to do to protect the coast? Because all these are the high value, much sought after tourist destinations.
Well, I am sure that the tourists who are staying there, as well as any potential tourists, would be happy to know that the police response was prompt. And the police response also disrupted these persons from carrying out what they wanted to do. While these persons were being pursued by the police on the beach, they were able to get inside a skiff and they took off. So they came on board a vessel and they left on that same vessel. So we're also looking to see if we can find that vessel that was used in this latest act.
Commissioner of Police Chester Williams met with the Vice Minister of Security of Honduras at his office in Belmopan on Thursday to discuss various matters, including bilateral working cooperation, human trafficking, and transnational crimes, among other issues. Dr. Sema Julissa Villanueva pledged to assist the Belize Police Department in a number of areas such as polygraph testing, national security capacity building, and cybercrime. Compol Williams discussed the meeting with reporters earlier today.
Yes, we had a visit yesterday from the Vice Minister of Security of Honduras, and we basically discussed different areas that we believe we can collaborate. And the key areas of interest for us was human trafficking, human smuggling, as well as narco trafficking. We had a very good discussion in terms of what each country can do. I also discussed with her a person who is wanted by us for a murder in PG, and that person is residing in Honduras. And so I discussed with her and gave her all the documents that we have in respect to that person's being wanted, and she have pledged that they will do their part to find that person and have him return to Belize so he can face the consequences of his action that he run away from. Other than that, the meeting was quite healthy. We will look at drafting some MOU between ourselves and the Honduran National Police that will deal with different issues of cooperation that we can look at in order to enhance both our countries' interests.
It's Women's Month, and today a group of female police officers stationed across Eastern Division were recognized by the top brass of the Belize Police Department for their work at the Queen Street Police Station in Belize City. Over 500 female officers are employed with the Belize Police Department, which represents just about 25% of the strength of the department. Following the award ceremony, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams spoke to the media about equal opportunities afforded to the women police officers.
Gone are the days where we say that certain tasks within the department is a task for a man, and certain tasks are tasks for women. That is no longer the case. Gone are the days when men expect that women would be in the office and bring coffee for them and these sort of things. Women are out on the streets now, hitting the pavement as much as men are. And it is only fitting that now that we're in the month of Women's Month, that we do give recognition to the women of the Belize Police Department. And again, they play a very integral role in the functioning of our department. The duties of every policeman and woman is important to us and should equally be recognized. As I said in my presentation to them, that gone are the days when women would feel like they have to work 10 times harder than a man for them to be recognized. As a commissioner, I look at police officers equally, whether they're a man or a woman. When it comes to promotion, if the woman is doing as good of a job as the man, she will be entitled to promotion, will be promoted. So it's no longer they have to outshine the man to be recognized. No, those days are behind us.
One last report from the sitting of the House. The meeting came to an end with Leader of the Opposition, Shine Barrow, being escorted out of the National Assembly. Valerie Woods, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, requested that the opposition leader be removed from the sitting after reportedly saying that Speaker Woods would, quote, act like a PUP. Now, Barrow's microphone appeared to have been on mute at that point, so there is nothing on record to suggest that he did in fact utter those words, except for what Speaker Woods heard being in close proximity to the opposition leader. And according to the standing orders that guide the sitting of the House of Representatives, bringing the integrity of the Speaker into question is a no-no. Here is how that played out.
On the point of order, the member is a point of order. Clarification, Madam Speaker. That is a point of order. No, see clarity. The member is saying things that I did not say.
No, it's not a point of order, member. I'm happy to go through standing orders with you, but that is not a point of order. Member, I am being polite. I am genuinely happy to sit with you to go through your standing order.
Madam Speaker. Anyways.
I'm sorry, member, I have to say this, and I do apologize for not allowing you to continue exactly at this moment. It's the Leader of Opposition. A standing order of 38.7 and 38.8. I'll direct you to 8. The conduct of Her Majesty, His Majesty now, and members of the royal family, Governor General, the Speaker. That shall not be entertained. So I will ask you to retract what you just said, referring to me in this chair. Or we suddenly have lost the memory, where I will act like a PUP. Did you not just say that? I will ask you to retract it. Member, yes, you are questioning my conduct. You directed to me. I ask you to retract. I will ask you to retract. Sergeant of Arms. Sergeant of Arms, I will ask you to escort the Leader of Opposition for the remainder of the day.
So where is the one?
Sergeant of Arms.
I know one statement
Police?
that you can't even verify.
I will ask.
I still know you're behaving like a PUP.
Member.
Generator over there on fire. So.
May I get a minister? May I get a minister?
I will withdraw.
Thank you.
I will be a degenerate like you.
May I get a minister to name if the member for Mesopotamia, Leader of Opposition, does not excuse himself?
I'm excusing myself where I want to run up. I will be like you, though, Mr. Degenerate.
Up next, the reason behind the dredging in San Pedrito.
The Belmopan Red Tigers have been prancing around the BEBL jungle like the big bad tiger cat. But the only real cat in the BEBL is this Cat 5 storm that the Venice Belize Hurricanes is about to unleash. And so, like Tweety Bird would say when she sees the Red Tigers,
I thought I saw a putty cat. I did saw a putty cat.
it's gonna be a monster jungle showdown this Friday night, March 10 at the Belize Civic Center when the Cat 5 Team Venice Belize Hurricanes rumble against the Belmopan Red Tigers in a battle dubbed as the Cat 5 versus the Tiger Cat. But we all know who is the real super cat. This will be a battle between the old and new capitals. Venice Belize Hurricanes focus on righting the ship, and the Belmopan Red Tigers are in the way. Semi-pro basketball at the highest level. Who will be victorious and who will survive in the jungle? Bring out the entire family this Friday night at the Belize Civic Center as your city favorite and beloved Venice Belize Hurricane takes on the Belmopan Red Tigers. Gates open at 7, tip-off time is 9. This you don't want to miss. The halftime show will feature the fabulous Britney Star with her hit tune.
Hey boy, are you my one hold for my body?
Also, how about the half-court shot to win a brand new Honda cycle from Venice? Remember to sign up for the Serena Bay Villas First Time $4,000 contest. Primary schoolers and high schoolers, bring out your posters and compete for the $500 prize. Lots of phone and tablet giveaways. Courtesy of Smart and Cellular World.
Hurricanes are one big family.
The after party will be at Thirsty Thursdays. Sponsors.
Yo, respect the city. Love the game. Family, Belize Hurricanes. Hurricanes are one big family.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited Postpaid Plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart. It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
If you are ailing due to a chronic disease and are left permanently invalid before retirement age, you may want to check if you qualify to receive invalidity benefit. The invalidity benefit exists for persons who are unable to continue working due to permanent illness. To qualify, you must be under 60 years old, must be sick for 26 consecutive weeks and certified to be medically unable to perform any type of work, must have at least 5 years of paid SSB contributions and at least 5 paid within the 3 months leading up to your illness. If you do not qualify for the invalidity pension, you may be eligible for the invalidity grant. Want to know more about invalidity benefit? Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board. Safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Messi! Off goal! What a goal from Leo Messi! What an incredible strike from Leo Messi! Neymar and Messi is standing over this. Messi.
Great entertainment stays with you, and we bring you great entertainment. Next Gen, the ultimate digital experience.
After a rough week of school, Jake and his friends decide to treat themselves to frozen coffee. And since they don't have cash on them, they decide to use eCash. With eCash's geolocation feature, Jake can easily find the nearest coffee spot. With eCash's built-in option to split bills, Jake can pay the bill and his friends can reimburse their portion of the bill. Jake scans the merchant's code and confirms payment. Jake then views his transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the split the bill button where he selects the evenly option to evenly split the bill. The application splits the bill automatically. His friends receive and accept the request. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash makes Jake enjoy his digital lifestyle.
At the start of our administration, our backlog instruments were at over 20,000. We have already managed to reduce that to 2,687. In 2022-23 fiscal year alone, we cleared 9,860 instruments. In fiscal year 2022-23, National Estate produced approximately 10,000 lease approvals, purchase approvals, grants, and land certificates.
It's been 9 years since sargassum has been drifting to our shorelines, but based on the amounts that are drifting ashore and the broad stretch of beaches that has already begun to cling to it, the impact for 2023 is threatening to be the worst yet. This year, even the southwestern portion of the island where the lagoon is situated has sargassum mats clung all the way up to the water side near the mangroves. They started to drift in over a week ago. There's a response effort to that which has just begun. This year, the San Pedro Town Council has linked up with a biodiversity scientist to manage the cleanup effort of the loads of sargassum rushing in from across the miles. It's a simple approach, but if it is followed correctly, it should be effective enough. News 5's Marian Ali reports.
The unsightly pungent brown algae known as sargassum has once again made its way to Belize, and in San Pedro, the shoreline has become an unpleasant experience for anyone who lives, works, or vacations nearby. And while this year the forecast is that the amounts will be far more than previous years, Valentine Rosado says the cleanup process can be made much easier and effective by applying common sense.
We're focused on nature-based solutions, and if we understand how nature works, then we know how to place ourselves, right? If we go along the beach, like this morning, we had some of the workers, they were going along the beach, raking and taking their wheelbarrow along the beach because you want to get the first line of sargassum that's on the beach. Okay. And then they had to travel down for several hundred yards to an area where they're piling it up for the trucks to come and pick it up. But if we know the currents, we don't really have to do that. We just stay in one location and we go towards the sea and we take out the sargassum. If we take it out from this one location and we pile it up, then the rest that's outside is just going to come right in and fill in that void, right? And then your effort is a lot less because you only have to move from just a little bit off the shore to the pile, right? You don't have to be traveling all along the beach, right? And you want to use those natural currents. Okay. And even the location as to where you're going to pick up sargassum, you're looking at the landscape and you find areas where the sargassum converges, and that's where you set up your collection points.
Rosado is coordinating with the San Pedro Town Council on managing the cleanup of the sargassum this year. He says that aside from the approach, timeliness of the cleanup is also key.
The problem is overwhelming because we're dealing with about 10, 12 days of sargassum that we still have in the water that hasn't been taken out, right? And it is coming in large quantities, but if we're a lot more efficient and we're able to take it out much more quickly, then we don't have to deal with an overwhelming situation like what we have right now. And something important about the sargassum is it has these little specializations filled with air that allow them to float. But the more time that they're sitting on the beach, right, they begin to disintegrate and they form mud and mushy, and it's a lot more heavier and a lot more difficult to work with. Even standing in the sargassum, right, it already started to decompose. So it does affect people's skin, right? But if we targeted it early, and if we were here from last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, getting it as it comes out is a lot easier to get out.
Just today, the Social Security Board informed that it is lending the Holchan Marine Reserve $3.5 million to install sargassum barriers. It is a loan that will be repaid over 15 years at an interest rate of 6.75%. But Philip Leslie, who represents the San Pedro Tour Guide Association, believes that having more manpower to remove the sargassum is the best way to go.
We spend countless amounts of money trying to buy different types of equipment to contain it, to move it to this area and so forth. And what I have seen is this. What should work is just hire more people and move it away from the shoreline as fast as we could. That is the best solution, because obtaining vessels that can't even get in because we have too many docks, obtaining retainer walls that don't work when the wind gets high. So all of that is wasted money. Why don't we just hire more people and take it out as fast as we can?
Michael Kane is a tour operator whose business lies on a pier in San Pedro. He told us today that his employees and his customers are impacted by the sargassum and that in turn, that affects his business.
We as a dive master, tour guide and stuff, that's where we go in the water sometimes, you know, especially at night, and like creatures like the stingray and stuff hide underneath there. So when we go in there, like most of the guys here work bare feet. They don't have like me who use dive boots to go in the ocean. So like they will get stepped on these stingray because they cannot see it. So and then they will have to be out of work for like 2 or 3 days. Some tourists, they are not used to it. Some of them are allergic. They get pretty sick. You know, they don't want to go back and do another dive because they're starting to feel sick.
Okay, so it's affecting you economically?
Yeah, because if a tourist sign up for like a 2-tank dive, we do a dive and come back here for a surface interval, they don't want to sit here and smell all that stench.
For now, Valentine Rosado and the San Pedro Town Council will have to coordinate as best to manage this year's sargassum overload using the approach that he suggests.
Just like a hurricane, we know when the sargassum is about to come in, and we have to be prepared. We have to have everything in place. So
be proactive than reactive.
Yes, so as soon as it starts washing up on our shore, we're getting the sargassum out. So at least here for the first time, we're trying to make sure that we have that sort of coordination.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Marian Ali.
News of dredging occurring on the western side of San Pedro has raised public concerns. The story spoke to the concerns about the area, which is said to be a spawning area for fish, and also about the uncertainty of the environmental clearance for the project. But today, News 5's Marian Ali did some searching and found out that the dredging was indeed approved to accommodate big vessels in that area. If it weren't, things could have gotten much worse at the current location where those vessels are currently docked. Here's that report.
This story, which was posted online recently, has raised concerns among residents in San Pedro, where the lagoon is situated. It is where dredging of a parcel of land started weeks ago. And while those who have concerns are right, we found out today that this is a case of yielding to a situation that would result with less environmental damage.
We moved the barges to the back because in front they were dumping oil, they were dumping human waste, they were dumping garbage and so forth because they're using the front. And they're dredging and digging the shallow seagrass bed. So that's the first stakeholder that was moved, right? Now we want to do things manageable. So we moved docking facility for boats at the back, especially international boats. Boats coming from going from San Pedro to Mexico, Chetumal, or back from there to San Pedro.
President of the San Pedro Tour Guides Association, Philip Leslie, told News 5 today that leaving the vessel to dock on the east side, where they do now, would have resulted in a worst-case scenario for the environment.
If you leave them on the east side, the impact is greater. Right, those boats will cut down on the shallow seagrass bed. Those boats will dump a lot of fuel and oil in the front portion that will then make its way to the reef because it's closer. So we want to protect the reef by moving that activity to the back.
Doesn't it still reach the reef, just at a later date?
No, because the area is a lagoon, so it's contained. It's contained.
Where does it go?
Well, it's contained at the back, and as natural, the mangroves that are still there are the ones that will consume that.
And don't those die eventually? Because
well, if you don't have development cutting it down, the mangroves will be able to withstand it.
Today, News 5 contacted the Minister of the Blue Economy, Andre Perez, who was traveling to Spain. He informed via messages that the dredging that is ongoing is not affecting fishing. He informed that the project has gotten permits to proceed. San Pedro Mayor Wally Nunes also told us late this evening that the dredging was approved since there have been complaints about boats not being able to access the area due to the depth of the water. Chief Environmental Officer Anthony Mai also confirmed that the project has environmental clearance from the Department of the Environment. Meanwhile, Mayor Nunes informed that there are plans if the canal can be dug properly to divert boat traffic to the back of the island. Reporting for News 5, I'm Marian Ali.
Parents, this question is for you. Has it been a challenge getting your children to eat their veggies? Do you have to sit and watch them chew and swallow their food so they don't toss it out when you turn your backs? The truth is, eating vegetables is a challenge for both adults and children. But one teacher may have discovered the answer to make it enjoyable. Sabrina Daly shared the answers in this week's Look on the Bright Side.
On the Bright Side is brought to you by Uno, a brand committed with the future.
Isela Tesocum is an educator at San Jose Socots RC School. She's been in the profession for 3 decades. But this Standard 3 teacher set out to experiment with the idea of getting her students to enjoy eating vegetables.
It all began with a learning outcome from the curriculum, the competency-based curriculum, and it asked that we do an experiment, a scientific experiment, and that we identify a problem in the community.
After much deliberation, Tesocum considered the nutritional challenges faced when children avoid eating their vegetables. In a classroom of about 36 students, she would figure out a way to get them to enjoy their leafy greens.
I realized that one of the biggest problems we're facing is that our kids don't like to eat vegetables. And so I decided to come to school and run a test. And so when we tallied all the votes, everybody had to vote for veggies or no veggies. We end up getting no veggies. They don't like veggies. And we asked them the question, and we said, what if you try to plant your own veggies? Maybe after the little veggie is out, maybe you will be excited to eat it. And they were all like, yes, miss, we should try it. I want to plant my own veggies. Spread it out. Okay, very good, very good. We decided to plant, and with the hypothesis that if the student plant his own vegetable, he will probably be more motivated to eat vegetable.
First, they had to prepare a compost pit. It's easily the messiest phase of their DIY project, which involved bringing food scraps from home for use as fertilizer. The young gardeners then transplanted these seedlings into bigger planters. The toughest challenge, however, was care and patience as they prayed for a successful harvest.
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, please protect us and please protect our relish and tomato garden.
So every child in the classroom have one little plant. And over the Christmas holiday, because we were not going to be in school, I had to ask them to take it home, look after the plant and make sure that the plant comes back in January. And it did happen. They did brought back their plants. And right now, we are fortunate that it's the harvest time, and it is time now to prove our hypothesis.
For Gia Alfaro, her plant care happens during break and lunchtime. She started with the smallest tree and now carries the pride of having the biggest and reaping over 7 tomatoes. What's the trick to make yours grow so fast?
Well, nothing. Just take care of it. Like my mom just sometimes bring a boner for it to help my tomato because it has some to help it grow. All the leaves are done because there's too much sun.
Too much sun?
Yeah. Like too much sun around here. Look at this one. The leaves are falling.
And who here did not like vegetables before they planted it?
I love tomatoes and pineapple.
And who here loves vegetables now that they planted it?
I love pepino. I love cucumber and tomato.
Who here could eat a vegetable raw just like that? You can? What's your favorite one?
Tomatoes and carrots.
What has been your favorite experience of this? Has it been the harvesting, the compost, the waiting for it to grow? Tell me.
The experience I liked was when we were getting our hands very dirty. My favorite experience was harvesting the plant and getting to do a salad.
How does your moms feel or your parents feel about you guys eating your vegetables now?
They feel happy, they feel proud of ourselves because we when you don't like vegetables and when you plant your own, you would like to start eating it now. And then you could start planting your own fruits and vegetables.
They bring their salt and their pepper and they prepare their own salad in the classroom and they enjoy it. So that proves that if we put our children to grow their own veggies, they're all excited and proud to put it on the table.
That is in our plans for probably next school year. We would start a garden where students can actually plant. And we are not looking at the business side of it, but probably just for students who have that extra vegetables to take home, or we could also start a small feeding program. We have some students that travel from the surrounding ranches. We have a group of approximately 12 students, so we can also use the available vegetables in the cafeteria.
So while the theory was successfully proven, Tessakum shared that some students have realized a future in farming.
It has been something good, and I have spoken to them about you could be an agronomist when you get old. Agriculture is a good career. Being a farmer is excellent. And I've been motivating them in every step of the way. And now they find it that, being a farmer is something good. And they dream about one day becoming an agronomist. So I have seen that it has been paying off.
So now that we have answered our hypothesis on whether or not kids may like vegetables if they grow it themselves, we also asked you guys about agriculture and the future. Who in here would like to be an agronomist? Me! Looking on the bright side, I'm Sabrina Daly.
On the Bright Side was brought to you by Uno, a brand committed with the future.
That's the sound of fuel efficiency. Every day, every time, I choose Uno Fuels, powered with Dynamax. Uno, a brand committed with the future.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available at channel5belize.com, on our Facebook, and on YouTube. I'm Annalyn Apollonia. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, have a happy and safe weekend. Good night.